The black cars moved slowly down the wide street toward Buckingham Palace. There were 3 cars in total. The middle car was bigger than the others. Inside that car sat Donald Trump Jr. He was looking at his phone and typing messages. He did not look up to see the famous palace getting closer. The driver spoke into his radio. His voice was quiet but clear. Eagle approaching the nest. 2 minutes out. This was code talk. Eagle meant Trump Jr. The nest meant the palace. All the security people used these code words. Trump Jr. finally looked up from his phone. He saw the tall iron gates of Buckingham Palace ahead. The gates were black and gold. They looked very old and very expensive. Behind the gates he could see the huge palace building. It was made of gray stone and had hundreds of windows. About time, Trump Jr. said to himself. He had been in London for 2 days already. He had meetings with business people and politicians. This visit to the palace was supposed to be the most important part of his trip, but he seemed bored by it. The lead car stopped first. 2 men in dark suits got out quickly. They looked around. Carefully, these were Secret Service agents. Their job was to keep Trump Jr. safe. They had been planning this visit for weeks. Every detail had been checked and double-checked. One of the agents spoke into his sleeve. There was a small microphone hidden there. Area looks clear. Proceeding with normal approach. He got an answer in his earpiece that only he could hear. The middle car stopped next. Trump Jr. waited inside while his security team got ready. Through the window, he could see people with cameras standing behind barriers across the street. They were tourists and reporters. They wanted to get pictures of him. "Sir, we're ready for you," said Agent Thompson. He was the head of Trump Jr.'s security team. Thompson had been doing this job for 15 years. He had protected many important people before. Trump Jr. opened the car door and stepped out. He was wearing a dark blue suit with a red tie. His hair was perfectly styled. He looked like he was ready for a business meeting, not a royal visit. The morning air was cool and fresh. It was early summer in London. The sky was clear blue with a few white clouds. It was going to be a beautiful day. As soon as Trump Jr. got out of the car, the cameras started flashing. The reporters began shouting questions. "Mr. Trump, how do you feel about meeting the royals? What will you discuss today? Are you nervous?" Trump Jr. did not answer the questions. He just smiled and waved. This was normal for him. He was used to cameras and reporters. His father had taught him how to handle the media. Agent Thompson moved close to Trump Jr. Single quotes S side. "Sir, we need to move toward the entrance now," he said quietly. Thompson was always thinking about safety. The longer they stayed in one place, the more risk there was. Trump Jr. started walking toward the palace gates. His shoes made clicking sounds on the stone ground. Behind him walked 4 more security agents. They formed a circle around him. This was called a protective formation. As they got closer to the gates, Trump Jr. could see more details of the palace. The building was even bigger than it looked in pictures. There were statues and decorations everywhere. Everything looked very old and very fancy. "Pretty impressive," said Agent Thompson, trying to make conversation. "I guess," Trump Jr. replied. He did not sound very impressed. "Our hotels are nicer, though." Thompson did not say anything to that. He just kept walking and watching for any problems. The palace gates opened slowly. They were very heavy and moved without making any sound. A man in a fancy uniform stood next to the gates. He had white gloves and a serious expression. This was a palace guard, but not one of the famous red-coated guards. "Mr. Trump," the guard said with a bow, "welcome to Buckingham Palace. Please follow me." They walked through the gates and into the palace courtyard. The courtyard was huge. It was paved with gray stones that looked very old. In the center was a large statue of Queen Victoria. She was the queen who ruled Britain many years ago. Trump Jr. looked around the courtyard. He saw more palace workers standing in different places. Some were wearing fancy uniforms. Others were dressed in normal business clothes. All of them looked very serious and professional. "Where are we supposed to go?" Trump Jr. asked Agent Thompson. "The main entrance." Is straight ahead, sir, Thompson replied. He had studied the palace layout before this visit. He knew exactly where everything was dodged. As they walked across the courtyard, Trump Jr. noticed something that made him stop. Near the main entrance of the palace stood several guards. These guards were different from the one who had opened the gates. They were wearing bright red coats and tall black hats made of fur. These were the famous royal guards that everyone knew about. The royal guards stood perfectly still. They did not move at all. Their faces showed no expression. They looked straight ahead and did not look at Trump Jr. or his security team. They held long rifles with sharp bayonets on the end. What are those guys doing there? Trump Jr. asked. Thompson. Those are the Queen's guards, sir, Thompson explained. They protect the palace. It's a very old tradition. Trump Jr. stared at the guards for a moment. They looked like toy soldiers, but bigger. Their red coats were very bright. Their black hats were very tall. They did not look real to him. They look like they're from a movie, Trump Jr. said with a small laugh. They're real guards, sir, Thompson said. They're highly trained soldiers. But Trump Jr. was not really listening. He was thinking about something else. He was thinking about security. His father had always taught him that too many security people in one place could cause confusion. And confusion could be dangerous. Trump Jr. looked at the royal guards again. Then he looked at his own security team. He counted 6 Secret Service agents around him. Plus, there were more agents who had arrived earlier to check the area. And now there were these British guards too. This is getting crowded, Trump Jr. said to Thompson. Sir? Thompson did not understand what he meant. All these guards, Trump Jr. said, pointing toward the royal guards. We don't need them. We have our own people. Thompson looked uncomfortable. He had been briefed about working with British security. He knew that the royal guards were not just for show. They were real soldiers with real jobs. But he also knew that Trump Jr. did not like to be told what he could and could not do. Sir, maybe we should just proceed to the meeting, Thompson suggested. But Trump Jr. was already making up his mind about something. He looked at the royal guards one more time. They still had not moved. They still showed no expression. To him, they looked like decorations, not real security. The palace entrance was getting closer. Soon they would be inside, meeting with royal officials. But first, Trump Jr. had decided to solve what he saw as a security problem. He stopped walking and turned to Agent Thompson. His expression was serious now. He had the look of someone who was about to give an important order. Thompson, he said in a firm voice, I need you to do something for me. Agent Thompson looked at Trump Jr. and waited for his order. He could see that his boss had something specific in mind. Thompson had worked with Trump Jr. for almost 2 years now. He knew that look on his face. It meant Trump Jr. was about to make a decision that might cause problems. What do you need, sir? Thompson asked carefully. Trump Jr. pointed toward the royal guards who were still standing perfectly still near the palace entrance. Those guards over there. They're in our way, Thompson looked at the royal guards. They were not in anyone's way. They were standing in their normal positions. They had probably been standing in those same spots for hours. Maybe even all day. That was their job. Sir, I think they're supposed to be there, Thompson said slowly. I don't care what they're supposed to do, Trump Jr. replied. His voice was getting louder. We have enough security. Too much security, actually. It makes things confusing. Thompson felt his stomach tighten. He had been afraid something like this might happen. Trump Jr. did not understand how things worked in other countries. He thought everything should work the same way it worked in America. Sir, those are British guards, Thompson tried to explain. They work for the Queen. We can't tell them what to do. But Trump Jr. was not listening. He was looking at his phone again. Someone had sent him a text message. He typed back quickly with his thumbs dot while Trump Jr. was busy with his phone. Thompson looked around the courtyard. He could see other people watching them. Palace workers were standing by doors and windows. Some of them looked worried. They could probably hear Trump Jr. talking in his loud voice. Thompson also noticed that there were security cameras everywhere. The palace had its own security system. Everything that happened in the courtyard was being recorded. Everything that was said was probably being recorded too. Sir, Thompson said quietly, maybe we should lower our voices. Trump Jr. looked up from his phone. Why? We're not saying anything secret. It's just that there are a lot of people watching us, Thompson explained. Trump Jr. looked around the courtyard. He saw the palace workers. He saw the cameras. For a moment, he seemed to understand that they were being observed. But then he shrugged his shoulders. So what? He said. Let them watch. We're not doing anything wrong. Thompson wished he could call his supervisor back in America. He wished he could ask for advice, but there was no time for that. They were supposed to be walking into the palace right now. The royal officials were waiting for them. Sir, we really should keep moving. Thompson said. In a minute, Trump Jr. replied. He was looking at the royal guards again. I want to get this sorted out first. The royal guards had not moved at all. They were like statues. Their red coats were bright in the morning sunlight. Their tall black hats made them look even taller than they really were. Their faces showed no emotion at all. Trump Jr. walked closer to the guards. Thompson and the other agents followed him. As they got closer, Thompson could see more details about the guards' uniforms. Everything was perfect. Their buttons were polished. Their boots were shiny. Their rifles were clean and well-maintained. Look at them, Trump Jr. said to Thompson. They're just standing there doing nothing. Sir, standing guard is their job, Thompson replied. But we have guards too, Trump Jr. said. American guards? The best guards in the world? We don't need British guards. Thompson looked at the other Secret Service agents. They all had worried expressions on their faces. They knew this situation was getting more complicated by the minute. Agent Johnson moved closer to Thompson. Johnson was the second in command of the security team. He was older than Thompson and had more experience with difficult situations. Should I call the embassy? Johnson whispered to Thompson. Thompson thought about it for a moment. The American embassy could help solve problems between Americans and British people, but calling the embassy would take time, and it would make this situation seem more serious than it was. Not yet, Thompson whispered back. Let's see if we can handle this ourselves. Trump Jr. was still staring at the royal guards. One of the guards was older than the others. He had stripes on his uniform that showed he was in charge. This was the guard commander. He had been doing this job for many years. The guard commander stood perfectly straight. His eyes looked straight ahead. He did not look at Trump Jr. or anyone else. This was part of his training. Royal guards were taught to ignore distractions. They were taught to focus only on their duty. That one there, Trump Jr. said, pointing at the guard commander. He looks like he's in charge. Sir, please don't point at them, Thompson said quickly. He knew that pointing at people was considered rude in many cultures. Why not? Trump Jr. asked. I'm just trying to figure out who's in charge around here. Thompson looked around the courtyard again. More palace workers had appeared. Some of them were wearing fancy uniforms with gold decorations. These were probably senior officials. They looked concerned about what was happening. One of the palace officials started walking toward them. He was a tall man with gray hair and a serious expression. He wore a dark suit with a small pin on his jacket. The pin showed he worked for the royal family. That man is coming over here, Thompson said to Trump Jr. Trump Jr. looked at the approaching official. Good, maybe he can explain what these guards are doing here. The palace official walked up to them and stopped. He smiled politely, but Thompson could see worry in his eyes. Mr. Trump, the official said with a slight bow. I am Sir William Hartwell, Deputy Master of the Household. Welcome to Buckingham Palace. Nice to meet you, Trump Jr. said, but he did not sound very interested. I have a question about your security setup here. Sir William looked confused. Security setup, sir? Yeah, Trump Jr. said, pointing at the royal guards again. Those guards over there, why do we need them? We brought our own security. Sir William's smile became more forced. Thompson could see that this question made him uncomfortable. Sir, those are Her Majesty's guards, Sir William explained carefully. They are always present at the palace. It is a tradition that goes back many centuries. But we have American security, Trump Jr. said. The best security in the world. We don't need extra guards. Sir William looked at Thompson for help. Thompson wished he could disappear. This was exactly the kind of situation he had been afraid of. Mr. Trump, Sir William said, the Queen's Guard are not extra security. They are an essential part of the palace. They have been protecting this building since before America was even a country. Trump Jr. did not like this answer. He did not like being told that anything was older or more important than American things. Well, maybe it's time to update your security, Trump Jr. said. American methods are more modern. Thompson saw Sir William's face change. The polite smile was still there, but his eyes showed that he was starting to get angry. Sir William said, his voice still polite but firmer now, perhaps we should proceed inside. The other officials are waiting to meet you. But Trump Jr. was not ready to go inside yet. He had made up his mind about something. He turned to Thompson with that determined look on his face again. Thompson, I want you to go talk to that head guard over there. Tell him he can take his men and go somewhere else. We'll handle security from here. Thompson felt his heart sink. This was the moment he had been dreading. Trump Jr. was about to cause a serious diplomatic incident. Thompson stared at Trump Jr. in disbelief. He could not believe what he had just heard. His boss wanted him to tell the Queen's Guards to leave. This was not just a bad idea. This was a terrible idea that could cause serious problems between America and Britain. Sir, I really don't think that's a good idea, Thompson said carefully. I didn't ask what you think, Trump Jr. replied sharply. I told you what I want you to do. Go tell that head guard to move his people somewhere else. Thompson looked at Sir William. The palace official's face had gone pale. His polite smile had completely disappeared. He looked like someone who was watching a car accident happen in slow motion. Mr. Trump, Sir William said quickly, I must advise against this course of action. The Queen's Guard cannot simply be dismissed by visiting guests. Trump Jr. turned to face Sir William directly. His face was getting red. He did not like being told he could not do something. I'm not just any visiting guest, Trump Jr. said loudly. I'm representing American business interests here, and I know about security. Too many guards in one place creates confusion. Confusion creates danger. Agent Johnson moved closer to Thompson. He whispered very quietly, this is going to be a disaster. Thompson nodded slightly. He agreed completely, but he also knew that arguing with Trump Jr. in public would only make things worse. Trump Jr. did not like to be contradicted in front of other people. Sir, Thompson said, trying one more time, maybe we could discuss this inside the palace. In private. No, Trump Jr. said firmly. We discuss it now. I want this security issue resolved before we go inside. The other Secret Service agents were all looking at Thompson. They were waiting to see what he would do. They knew he was in an impossible situation. If he followed Trump Jr.'s order, he would cause a diplomatic incident. If he refused to follow the order, he might lose his job. Sir William stepped forward again. Mr. Trump, perhaps I can explain how things work here at the palace. I understand how things work, Trump Jr. interrupted. I understand that we have the best security team in the world. We don't need help from guards who look like they belong in a museum. Thompson saw several of the royal guards shift slightly. It was very small movement, but he noticed it. The guards had heard what Trump Jr. said about them. They probably did not like being called museum pieces. The guard commander, the older guard with stripes on his uniform, remained perfectly still. His face showed no expression at all. But Thompson was trained to notice small details. He could see that the guard commander's jaw was tighter than before. This meant he was probably angry but trying not to show it. Sir, Thompson tried again, these guards are highly trained soldiers. They're not just for decoration. Then why are they dressed like toy soldiers? Trump Jr. asked loudly. Several palace workers who had been watching from a distance now moved closer. They wanted to hear what was happening. Word was probably spreading through the palace that there was some kind of problem in the courtyard. Sir, William looked very worried now. He kept glancing at his watch. Thompson guessed that they were already late for their scheduled meeting inside the palace. Other important people were probably waiting for them. Mr. Trump, Sir William said, we really must proceed inside now. The schedule. The schedule can wait, Trump Jr. cut him off. Security comes first. That's something my father taught me. Thompson felt trapped. He looked at the royal guards again. They were still standing perfectly still. They were still looking straight ahead, but he could sense tension in the air. Everyone in the courtyard could feel that something was going wrong. Thompson, Trump Jr. said again, I'm giving you a direct order. Go tell those guards to move. Thompson took a deep breath. He had to make a decision. He could follow the order and cause an international incident, or he could refuse and face Trump Jr.'s anger. Neither choice was good. Sir, what if I talk to Sir William instead? Thompson suggested. Maybe he can arrange for the guards to adjust their positions. Sir William shook his head quickly. I'm afraid that's not possible. The Queen's Guard follow very specific protocols. They cannot be moved or dismissed except by their own commanders. Then get their commander, Trump Jr. said. I'll talk to him myself. Thompson's heart started beating faster. This was getting worse by the minute. He could imagine the headlines in tomorrow's newspapers. American businessman insults Queen's Guards. Or worse, Trump's son causes diplomatic crisis at Buckingham Palace. Sir, maybe their commander is not available right now, Thompson said hopefully, but Sir William shook his head again. Actually, the guard commander is right there, he said, pointing to the older guard with stripes. Guard Commander Williams has been serving Her Majesty for over 20 years. Trump Jr. looked at Guard Commander Williams with interest. 20 years? That's a long time. He should understand about security then. Thompson could see that Trump Jr. was planning to approach the guard commander directly. This would be even worse than sending Thompson to talk to him. If Trump Jr. spoke to the guard himself, he might say something that would cause even bigger problems. Sir, please let me handle this, Thompson said quickly. Fine, Trump Jr. said. But make it clear that we don't need their help. Tell them. They can go guard something else. Thompson walked slowly toward the royal guards. Each step felt heavy. He knew that every person in the courtyard was watching him. He knew that security cameras were recording everything. He knew that this moment might be replayed on news programs around the world. As he got closer to the guards, Thompson could see more details of their uniforms. Everything was perfect. Their red coats had no wrinkles. Their brass buttons were polished to a mirror shine. Their white gloves were spotless. These were clearly professional soldiers, not costume actors. Guard Commander Williams still had not moved. He stood straight and tall. His rifle was held at exactly the right angle. His eyes looked straight ahead, not at Thompson. Thompson stopped, about 3 feet away from the guard commander. He felt ridiculous. He was about to deliver a message that he knew was wrong and inappropriate. But he had his orders. Excuse me, Thompson said quietly. Guard Commander Williams did not respond. He did not move his eyes. He did not turn his head. He continued to look straight ahead as if Thompson was not there. Thompson tried again, speaking. A little louder. Sir, I need to speak with you. Still no response. Thompson realized that the royal guards probably had rules about when they could break their formation. They probably could not just start having conversations with visitors. Thompson looked back at Trump Jr. His boss was watching impatiently. Trump Jr. made a gesture with his hand that meant, hurry up. Thompson turned back to the guard commander. He felt embarrassed and angry at the same time. He was embarrassed about what he was going to say. He was angry that he had been put in this position. Sir, Thompson said more loudly, I have a message from Mr. Donald Trump Jr. This time, Guard Commander Williams moved slightly. His eyes shifted down to look at Thompson. It was a very small movement, but it showed that he was listening. Thompson took a deep breath. He knew that the next words out of his mouth would either solve this problem or make it much worse. Double quotes, Mr. Trump Jr. would like to request. that you and your men move to a different location. He feels that there are too many security personnel in this area. Guard Commander Williams' eyes narrowed slightly. Thompson could see that the message had been understood, and he could see that the guard commander was not happy about it. For a long moment, nobody said anything. The courtyard was completely quiet except for the sound of traffic from the street outside the palace gates. Then Guard Commander Williams spoke. Guard Commander Williams looked directly at Thompson for the first time. His eyes were sharp and clear. Thompson could see intelligence and experience in those eyes. This was not a man who would be easily intimidated or confused. "I beg your pardon," Guard Commander Williams said. His voice was crisp and clear. He spoke with a strong British accent that made every word sound important. Thompson swallowed hard. He had hoped that maybe the guard commander would just ignore the message. But now he had to repeat it. He had to say the embarrassing words again. "Mr. Trump Jr. requests that you move your guards to a different location," Thompson said. His voice was quieter this time. He hoped that maybe Trump Jr. would not hear him from across the courtyard. Guard Commander Williams raised one eyebrow. It was a very small movement, but it showed exactly what he thought about this request. He thought it was ridiculous. Move to a different location? The guard commander repeated slowly. "And why would we do that?" Thompson looked back at Trump Jr. His boss was still watching and waiting. Trump Jr. made another hand gesture that meant, "Keep going." "Mr. Trump Jr. believes there are too many security personnel in this area," Thompson explained. "He thinks it might cause confusion." Guard Commander Williams was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking carefully about what Thompson had just said. Behind him, the other royal guards remained perfectly still. But Thompson could sense that they were all listening to every word. "I see," Guard Commander Williams said finally. "And Mr. Trump Jr. believes that we should move because he finds our presence confusing?" Thompson could hear the sarcasm in the guard commander's voice. It was very polite sarcasm, but it was definitely there. Thompson knew that this conversation was not going well. "Sir, I'm just delivering a message," Thompson said. "I don't necessarily agree with it." Guard Commander Williams studied Thompson's face. He seemed to understand that Thompson was in a difficult position. The anger in his eyes softened slightly, but only slightly. "You are just following orders," Guard Commander Williams said. "I understand that. But perhaps you could explain something." "To me? What's that, sir?" Thompson asked. "How long have you been guarding Mr. Trump Jr.?" Guard Commander Williams asked. "Almost 2 years, sir," Thompson replied. "And how long have you been a security professional?" 15 years total, sir." Guard Commander Williams nodded. 15 years. That is respectable experience. Tell me, in your professional opinion, do you see any security problems with our current positions? Thompson looked around the courtyard. He looked at where the royal guards were standing. He looked at where his own agents were positioned. He thought about angles of approach, escape routes, and fields of fire. These were things he had been trained to think about. "No, sir," Thompson admitted. "I don't see any problems with your positions." "Neither do I," Guard Commander Williams said. "In fact, our positions have been carefully planned over many decades. They provide optimal coverage of all approaches to the palace entrance." Thompson nodded. He could see that the guard commander was right. The royal guards were positioned in exactly the right places to watch for threats. Moving them would actually make security worse, not better. "Sir," Thompson said quietly, "is there any way we could compromise on this situation?" Guard Commander Williams thought about this question. He looked past Thompson at Trump Jr., who was still waiting impatiently across the courtyard. "What kind of compromise did you have in mind?" The guard commander asked. Thompson was not sure. He had not thought that far ahead. He was just hoping to find some solution that would satisfy everyone. Maybe some of your guards could move to different positions? Thompson suggested. "Not leave completely, just rearrange." Guard Commander Williams shook his head. "Slowly, our positions are not arbitrary. Each guard is exactly where he needs to be. Moving even one guard would create a gap in our coverage." Thompson understood. This was not just about tradition or ceremony. This was about real security. The Royal Guards knew their job, and they knew how to do it properly. "I understand, sir," Thompson said. "But Mr. Trump Jr. is very insistent about this. And what happens if I refuse to move my guards?" Guard Commander Williams asked Thompson. "Had not thought about this either. What would happen? Would Trump Jr. cause a scene? Would he refuse to go into the palace? Would he demand to speak to someone in charge?" "I don't know, sir," Thompson admitted. "But I don't think he'll be happy about it." Guard Commander Williams smiled slightly. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had dealt with difficult people before. "I have been doing this job for over 20 years, the Guard Commander said. "I have protected this palace through terrorist threats, protests, and diplomatic crises. I have stood guard during visits from presidents, prime ministers, and kings. Do you think I'm concerned about making one American businessman unhappy?" Thompson could see that Guard Commander Williams was not going to be intimidated. This was a man who took his duty seriously. He was not going to move his guards just because a visitor asked him to. "Sir, I understand your position," Thompson said. "But I still have to report back to Mr. Trump Jr. What should I tell him?" Guard Commander Williams was quiet for a long moment. He seemed to be deciding how to handle this situation. Thompson could see him thinking through different options. "Tell Mr. Trump Jr. that the Queen's Guard appreciates his concern for security," Guard Commander Williams said finally. "But tell him that we have our orders just as you have yours. And our orders come from a higher authority than his." Thompson knew what the Guard Commander meant. The Royal Guards took their orders from the Queen herself. They did not take orders from visiting Americans, no matter how important those Americans thought they were. "I'll tell him, sir," Thompson said. "But I don't think he'll like that answer." "That is not my concern," Guard Commander Williams replied. "My concern is protecting this palace and everyone in it, including Mr. Trump Jr., whether he appreciates it or not." Thompson started to walk back toward Trump Jr. He felt like he was walking toward a bomb that was about to explode. He knew that Trump Jr. would not be happy with the Guard Commander's response. As he walked, Thompson thought about his options. He could tell Trump Jr. exactly what the Guard Commander had said. This would probably make Trump Jr. very angry. Or he could try to soften the message somehow. But that might just make things worse later. Thompson decided to tell the truth. It was always better to be honest, even when the truth was not what people wanted to hear. Trump Jr. saw Thompson approaching and stepped forward eagerly. "Well, what did he say?" Thompson took a deep breath. "Sir, the Guard Commander says that his guards cannot be moved. They have orders from their superiors." Trump Jr.'s face began to turn red. "Orders from their superiors? I am their superior. Right now, this is my security operation." "Sir, with respect, they don't work for us," Thompson said carefully. "They work for the British government." "I don't care who they work for," Trump Jr. said loudly. "This is a security issue. And I'm in charge of security for this visit." Sir William, who had been listening to this conversation, stepped forward. "Again, Mr. Trump, perhaps we could discuss this matter inside the palace. I'm sure we can find a solution that works for everyone." But Trump Jr. was not interested in discussing anything inside the palace. He was focused on winning this argument. "Right here and right now." "No," Trump Jr. said firmly. "We settle this now. Thompson, go back there and tell that guard that he has two choices. He can move his men, or I can call the American ambassador and make this an official diplomatic complaint." Thompson felt his stomach drop. A diplomatic complaint would turn this small problem into a major international incident. It would involve government officials from both countries. It might even affect trade relations between America and Britain. "Sir, are you sure you want to do that?" Thompson asked. "I'm sure," Trump Jr. said. "Go tell him." Thompson walked back toward the Royal Guards one more time. This time his steps felt even heavier than before. Thompson walked back to Guard Commander Williams with heavy steps. He knew he was about to deliver a threat that would make everything much worse, but he had no choice. Trump Jr. had given him a direct order, and refusing to follow it would mean losing his job. Guard Commander Williams watched Thompson approach. The guard commander's expression had not changed, but Thompson could see that he was preparing himself for whatever message was coming. "Sir," Thompson said quietly when he reached the guard commander, "I have another message from Mr. Trump Jr." "I'm listening," Guard Commander Williams replied. Thompson looked around to make sure no one else could hear him clearly. He did not want this conversation to be overheard by the palace workers or the other guards. "Mr. Trump Jr. says you have two choices," Thompson said, speaking as quietly as possible. "You can move your guards, or he will call the American ambassador and make this an official diplomatic complaint." Guard Commander Williams' eyes narrowed. For the first time since this conversation began, Thompson saw real anger cross the guard commander's face. It was controlled anger, professional anger, but it was definitely anger. "A diplomatic complaint?" Guard Commander Williams repeated slowly. "Yes, sir," Thompson said. "He's very serious about this." Guard Commander Williams was quiet for a long moment. Thompson could see him thinking. The guard commander was probably considering all the implications of what Trump Jr. had just threatened to do. A diplomatic complaint would involve the American embassy. It would involve the British Foreign Office. It might even involve people in the royal household who had much more authority than Sir William. This small argument about guard positions could become a major international incident. Thompson waited nervously for the guard commander's response. He hoped that maybe the threat would convince the guard commander to find some kind of compromise. Maybe the guards could move just a little bit. Maybe they could adjust their positions slightly without actually leaving their posts. But as Thompson looked at Guard Commander Williams' face, he realized that the threat had not had the effect Trump Jr. wanted. Instead of looking worried or intimidated, the guard commander looked more determined than before. "Mr. Thompson," Guard Commander Williams said finally, "may I ask you a question?" "Of course, sir." "In your 15 years as a security professional, have you ever been asked to abandon your post because someone found your presence inconvenient?" Thompson thought about this question. He remembered times when he had been asked to move to different positions. He remembered times when he had been asked to be less visible. But he had never been asked to completely abandon his duties just because someone did not like having him around. "No, sir," Thompson answered honestly, "I haven't." "And if someone did ask you to abandon your post, what would you say?" Thompson knew the answer immediately. "I would say that I have a job to do, and I'm going to do it." Guard Commander Williams nodded approvingly. "Exactly. That is what any professional security officer would say. We do not abandon our duties because someone finds them inconvenient." Thompson understood what the guard commander was telling him. The Royal Guards were not going to move, no matter what threats Trump Jr. made. They had a job to do, and they were going to do it. Double quotes. "Sir, I understand your position," Thompson said. "But Mr. Trump Jr. is not going to accept that answer." "Then perhaps Mr. Trump Jr. needs to learn something about how security works in other countries," Guard Commander Williams replied. Thompson could hear the firmness in the guard commander's voice. This was not a man who could be bullied or threatened. This was a professional soldier who had spent decades protecting one of the most important buildings in Britain. He was not going to be intimidated by an American businessman, no matter who that businessman's father was. "What should I tell him?" Thompson asked. Guard Commander Williams looked directly at Thompson. His eyes were steady and calm. When he spoke, his voice was clear and strong enough for everyone in the courtyard to hear. "Sir, we don't work for you." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Thompson felt his breath catch in his throat. Those 5 simple words contained everything that Guard Commander Williams wanted to say about this situation. They were polite but firm. They were respectful but uncompromising. They made it clear that the Royal Guards answered to a different authority than Trump Jr. Thompson stared at Guard Commander Williams for a moment. He had not expected such a direct response. He had thought that maybe the guard commander would try to find some diplomatic way to handle the situation. Instead, the guard commander had drawn a clear line in the sand. "Sir, we don't work for you," Thompson repeated quietly, making sure he had heard correctly. That is correct, Guard Commander Williams confirmed. We work for Her Majesty the Queen. We take our orders from the British Army chain of command. We do not take orders from visiting Americans, regardless of their family connections or business interests. Thompson realized that this was the moment everything would change. Up until now, this had been a misunderstanding that could maybe be resolved quietly, but Guard Commander Williams had just made it clear that there would be no compromise. The Royal Guards would not move, and they would not apologize for refusing to move. Thompson looked back at Trump Jr. His boss was still waiting impatiently across the courtyard. Thompson could see that Trump Jr. was getting more angry by the minute. Trump Jr. kept looking at his watch and making gestures that meant, "Hurry up!" Thompson knew that when he delivered Guard Commander Williams' message, Trump Jr. would explode. With anger, this would no longer be a quiet disagreement. It would become a loud, public confrontation that everyone in the palace would hear about. "Sir," Thompson said to Guard Commander Williams, "are you sure about this? Mr. Trump Jr. can be very persistent when he doesn't get what he wants." Guard Commander Williams smiled slightly. It was not a worried smile. It was the confident smile of someone who had faced much more serious challenges than one angry American. "Mr. Thompson, I have stood guard during IRA bomb threats. I have protected this palace during riots and demonstrations. I have maintained my post while protesters threw bottles and rocks at us. Do you think I'm concerned about one businessman having a tantrum?" Thompson realized that Guard Commander Williams was absolutely right. The Royal Guards had dealt with real threats to the palace. They had faced genuine dangers. Compared to terrorists and rioters, Trump Jr. was just a minor inconvenience. "No, sir," Thompson said. "I don't think you're concerned about that." "Then please deliver my message to Mr. Trump Jr., Guard Commander Williams said. "Tell him exactly what I said." "Sir, we don't work for you," Thompson nodded. He turned around and began walking back toward Trump Jr. As he walked, he could feel the eyes of everyone in the courtyard watching him. Palace workers, Secret Service agents, Royal Guards, and Sir William were all waiting to see what would happen next. Thompson knew that the next few minutes would determine whether this situation could still be resolved quietly or whether it would become a major diplomatic crisis. He hoped that maybe Trump Jr. would listen to reason when he heard Guard Commander Williams' response. But based on what Thompson had seen so far, he was not optimistic. As Thompson got closer to Trump Jr., he could see the expectation on his boss's face. Trump Jr. was clearly expecting to hear that the Royal Guards had agreed to move. He was expecting to win this argument. Thompson stopped in front of Trump Jr. and took a deep breath. He was about to deliver a message that would probably cause an explosion of anger, but he had no choice. Guard Commander Williams had been clear and direct. Thompson had to report exactly what was said. "Well?" Trump Jr. asked impatiently. "What did he say?" Thompson looked directly at Trump Jr. He spoke clearly so that there would be no misunderstanding about the message. "Sir," he said, "sir, we don't work for you." For a moment, Trump Jr. just stared at Thompson in silence. His face was processing what he had just heard. Then, slowly, his expression began to change from expectation to disbelief to anger. Trump Jr.'s face went through several different expressions in just a few seconds. First, he looked confused, as if he had not heard Thompson correctly. Then he looked surprised, as if he could not believe what the guard commander had said. Finally, his face turned red with anger. "He said what?" Trump Jr. asked loudly. "He said, sir, we don't work for you," Thompson repeated, speaking more quietly this time. He hoped that maybe Trump Jr. would lower his voice too, but that hope was quickly disappointed. "We don't work for you," Trump Jr. repeated, his voice getting even louder. "Who does he think he is?" Several palace workers who had been watching from a distance now moved closer. They could hear Trump Jr. shouting, and they wanted to see what was happening. Thompson could see concern on their faces. This was clearly not how visits to Buckingham Palace were supposed to go. Sir William hurried over to where Trump Jr. was standing. The palace official looked very worried now. His polite smile had completely disappeared. "Mr. Trump, perhaps we could continue this discussion in a more private setting," Sir William suggested. No, Trump Jr. said firmly. We're going to settle this right here and right now. That guard just insulted me. He insulted America. Thompson felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. Trump Jr. was making this into something much bigger than it needed to be. A simple disagreement about security arrangements was becoming an international incident. Sir, Thompson said quietly, I don't think the guard commander meant to insult anyone. He was just explaining that he has different orders. But Trump Jr. was not listening to Thompson anymore. He was focused on Guard Commander Williams, who was still standing perfectly still near the palace entrance. The guard commander had not moved at all since delivering his famous response. Different orders? Trump Jr. said sarcastically. From who's some old lady in a crown? Thompson heard several palace workers gasp when Trump Jr. said this. Calling the Queen some old lady in a crown was incredibly disrespectful. In Britain, the Queen was deeply respected by most people. Insulting her was like insulting the entire country. Sir William's face went white. Mr. Trump, I must ask you to be more respectful when referring to Her Majesty. Respectful? Trump Jr. laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. What about being respectful to me? I'm a guest here. I'm representing American business interests. And that guard just told me he doesn't work for me. Agent Johnson moved closer to Thompson. We need to get him out of here, Johnson whispered. This is getting out of control. Thompson nodded, but he was not sure how to convince Trump Jr. to leave. His boss was clearly angry and embarrassed. Trump Jr. did not like to back down from confrontations, especially when other people were watching. Sir, Thompson said, trying to sound calm, maybe we should go inside the palace now. We can discuss this situation with the proper officials. The proper officials? Trump Jr. repeated. Who are the proper officials? More people in funny costumes? Thompson could see that Trump Jr. was not thinking clearly anymore. He was too angry to make good decisions. When Trump Jr. got this angry, he sometimes said things that he later regretted. But by then, the damage was usually already done. Sir William tried again to calm the situation. Mr. Trump, I assure you that we can resolve this matter diplomatically. There is no need for any unpleasantness. Unpleasantness? Trump Jr. said. The unpleasantness started when that guard disrespected me and my country. Thompson looked around the courtyard. More people had gathered to watch what was happening. He could see faces in the palace windows. Palace staff members were standing in doorways, listening to every word. This was no longer a private conversation. It was becoming a public spectacle. Sir, Thompson said more urgently, we really should move this conversation somewhere private. But Trump Jr. was not interested in privacy anymore. He seemed to want everyone to hear what he had to say. You know what the problem is? Trump Jr. said loudly. The problem is that people in other countries don't understand how things work in America. In America, when important people visit, everyone cooperates. Everyone works together to make sure things go smoothly. Sir William looked confused. But sir, that is exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to make your visit go smoothly. No, you're not, Trump Jr. argued. You're letting some guard in a costume tell me what I can and cannot do. That's not cooperation. That's disrespect. Thompson could see that Trump Jr. was completely misunderstanding the situation. The Royal Guards were not trying to be disrespectful. They were just doing their job. But Trump Jr. saw their refusal to follow his orders as a personal insult. Sir, Thompson tried one more time, maybe we could look at this differently. The Royal Guards are providing additional security for your visit. That's actually a good thing. Trump Jr. turned to look at Thompson with anger in his eyes. Whose side are you on, Thompson? This question made Thompson very uncomfortable. He was not on anyone's side. He was just trying to do his job and avoid an international incident. But Trump Jr. seemed to think that anyone who did not completely agree with him was working against him. I'm on your side, sir, Thompson said carefully. I'm just trying to find a solution that works for everyone. The solution is simple, Trump Jr. said. Those guards move or we leave. I'm not going to be disrespected like this. Sir William looked shocked. Leave? But sir, You have a scheduled meeting with several important officials. They are waiting for you inside the palace. Then maybe they should have thought about that before they let their guards insult me, Trump Jr. replied. Thompson realized that Trump Jr. was serious about leaving. This was not just an empty threat. If the situation was not resolved quickly, Trump Jr. might actually walk away from this important diplomatic meeting. Sir, Thompson said, leaving would cause even bigger problems. The media would want to know why you left. There would be questions about what happened. For the first time since this confrontation began, Trump Jr. seemed to think about the consequences of his actions. Thompson could see him considering what the newspapers would say if he walked out of Buckingham Palace. You're right about the media, Trump Jr. said slowly. They would make a big story out of this. Thompson felt a small spark of hope. Maybe Trump Jr. was finally realizing that this situation needed to be handled carefully. So what do you suggest? Trump Jr. asked. Thompson thought quickly. He needed to find a way to let Trump Jr. save face while also resolving the conflict with the royal guards. Maybe we could ask Sir William to arrange a meeting with someone who has authority over the guards, Thompson suggested. Someone who could explain the security arrangements to you directly. Sir William nodded eagerly. Yes, that's an excellent idea. I could arrange for you to meet with the palace security coordinator. He could explain how our security system works. Trump Jr. considered this suggestion. Thompson could see him thinking about whether this would be acceptable. It would give him a chance to complain about the guards to someone in authority. But it would also mean admitting that he did not understand how things worked at the palace. What? About that guard who insulted me? Trump Jr. asked. What happens to him? Sir William looked confused again. Sir, Guard Commander Williams did not insult you. He simply explained that the royal guards follow a different chain of command. He said he doesn't work for me, Trump Jr. insisted. That's disrespectful. But sir, Sir William said gently, he doesn't work for you. None of us work for you. We work for the British government and the royal household. That's not disrespectful, that's just how things are. Trump Jr. stared at Sir William for a long moment. Thompson could see that something was finally beginning to sink in. Maybe Trump Jr. was starting to understand that he was not in charge here. Maybe he was beginning to realize that other countries had their own ways of doing things. Trump Jr. stood in the palace courtyard, looking around as if he was seeing everything for the first time. The anger was still there in his face, but now there was something else too. Confusion. He was beginning to understand that this place worked differently than anywhere he had been before. Sir William watched Trump Jr. carefully. The palace official had dealt with difficult visitors before, but never quite like this. He knew that the next few minutes would be very important. If he handled this situation correctly, maybe they could still save the visit. If he made a mistake, it could become an international embarrassment. Mr. Trump, Sir William said gently, perhaps I should explain how things work here at the palace. Trump Jr. looked at Sir William with suspicion. What do you mean? I mean that Buckingham Palace is not like other places you might visit, Sir William explained. This is a working royal residence. It has its own rules and traditions that go back hundreds of years. Thompson watched this conversation carefully. He could see that Sir William was trying to educate Trump Jr. without making him feel stupid. This was a delicate balance. Trump Jr. did not like to be told that he was wrong about anything. Rules and traditions? Trump Jr. repeated slowly. What kind of rules? Well, for example, the Queen's Guard have been protecting this palace since 1660, Sir William said. That's over 300 years. They have never taken orders from visiting guests, no matter how important those guests might be. Trump Jr. looked toward the royal guards, who were still standing in their positions. Guard Commander Williams had not moved since delivering his famous response. The other guards were also perfectly still, as if nothing unusual had happened. 300 years? Trump Jr. asked. Yes, sir, Sir William confirmed. The traditions here are older than your entire country. Thompson saw Trump Jr. flinch slightly at this comment. Trump Jr. was proud of America, and he did not like being reminded that other countries had longer histories. That doesn't mean their traditions are better than ours, Trump Jr. said defensively. Of course not, Sir William agreed quickly. Every country has its own traditions. But when you visit another country, it's important to respect their ways of doing things. Agent Johnson moved closer to Thompson. I think Sir William is getting through to him, Johnson whispered. Thompson nodded. He could see that Trump Jr. was listening more carefully now. The shouting had stopped. The red color was fading from Trump Jr.'s face. Maybe the worst of this crisis was over, but Thompson also knew that there was still a problem. Even if Trump Jr. calmed down now, word of this incident would spread. Palace workers had heard everything. Some of them probably had cell phones and were already texting their friends about what had happened. Sir William, Thompson said quietly, what about all the people who witnessed this conversation? Sir William understood immediately what Thompson was worried about. Don't concern yourself with that, Sir William said. Palace staff are very discreet. They understand the importance of confidentiality. Trump Jr. overheard this exchange. Confidentiality? Are you saying this needs to be kept secret? Sir William looked uncomfortable. Not secret, exactly. But it would be better for everyone if this small misunderstanding did not become a major. News story? Misunderstanding? Trump Jr. repeated. Is that what we're calling it now? Thompson could see that Trump Jr. was still sensitive about what had happened. He did not want to admit that he had made a mistake, but he also did not want this incident to become front-page news. Sir, Thompson suggested, maybe we should focus on moving forward. The important thing is your meeting with the palace officials. Trump Jr. looked at his watch. How late are we now? About 20 minutes, Sir William admitted. But I'm sure the officials will understand. These things happen sometimes during high-level visits. These things? Trump Jr. asked. You mean other important visitors have had problems with your guards? Sir William paused before answering. Thompson could see that he was choosing his words very carefully. Every visitor is different, Sir William said diplomatically. Some visitors are more familiar with royal protocol than others. Trump Jr. understood what Sir William was really saying. He was saying that Trump Jr. did not know the proper way to behave at a royal palace. This was probably true, but Trump Jr. did not like hearing it. Maybe someone should have explained the protocol to me before I got here, Trump Jr. said. Thompson winced. This comment suggested that the palace staff had failed to prepare Trump Jr. properly, but Thompson knew that Trump Jr. had been given briefing materials about the visit. Trump Jr. just had not read them carefully. I believe your advance team was provided with detailed protocol information, Sir William said politely. Trump Jr. looked at Thompson. Did we get protocol information? Thompson nodded reluctantly. Yes, sir. There was a briefing packet about royal customs and procedures. Did I read it? Trump Jr. asked. I am not sure, sir, Thompson said diplomatically. Trump Jr. was quiet. For a moment, Thompson could see him remembering the briefing packet. It had been thick and full of details about how to behave during a royal visit. Trump Jr. had probably glanced at it and then put it aside. Okay, Trump Jr. said finally. Maybe I should have read it more carefully. But that still doesn't excuse what that guard said to me. Sir William sighed quietly. Mr. Trump, Guard Commander Williams was not being disrespectful. He was simply stating a fact. The royal guards do not work for visiting guests. They work for the crown. The crown? Trump Jr. repeated. You mean the Queen? Yes, sir. Her Majesty is their Commander-in-Chief. Trump Jr. looked toward Guard Commander Williams again. The Guard Commander was still standing at attention, looking straight ahead. He had not acknowledged any of the conversation that had been happening about him. So when I asked him to move his guards, I was basically asking him to disobey the Queen, Trump Jr. asked. In a manner of speaking, yes, Sir William confirmed. Thompson saw something change in Trump Jr.'s single quotes S expression. For the first time since this whole incident began, Trump Jr. looked embarrassed rather than angry. I didn't think about it that way, Trump Jr. admitted quietly. Sir William sensed an opportunity to resolve the situation. Mr. Trump, perhaps you would like to meet Guard Commander Williams properly. I could introduce you to him in the correct manner. Trump Jr. considered this suggestion. Thompson could see him weighing his options. He could continue to be angry and stubborn, or he could try to fix the situation by showing some respect for the Guard Commander. What would that involve? Trump Jr. asked. Nothing complicated, Sir William explained. I would simply introduce you to Guard Commander Williams and explain your role in today's visit. He would acknowledge the introduction politely. It would be a fresh start. Thompson thought this was a good idea. It would give Trump Jr. a chance to show that he could be diplomatic when necessary. It would also give Guard Commander Williams a chance to demonstrate that he had no hard feelings about what had happened. Would he apologize for what he said? Trump Jr. asked. Sir William shook his head. He would not apologize because he did nothing wrong, but he would treat you with the courtesy due to any distinguished visitor. Trump Jr. thought about this for a long moment. Thompson could see that he was struggling between his pride and his practical sense. His pride wanted Guard Commander Williams to apologize, but his practical sense told him that this was not going to happen. And then we could go inside for the meeting? Trump Jr. asked. Yes, sir, Sir William confirmed. We could proceed with your scheduled appointments as if nothing unusual had occurred. Trump Jr. looked around the courtyard one more time. He saw the palace workers who were still watching. He saw his own security team waiting for his decision. He saw the royal guards maintaining their professional composure despite everything that had happened. All right, Trump Jr. said finally. Let's do the introduction. But I want it understood that I'm doing this for diplomatic reasons, not because I think I was wrong. Sir William smiled for the first time in 20 minutes. Of course, sir. Your gracious cooperation will be noted and appreciated. Sir William walked slowly toward Guard Commander Williams. Trump Jr. followed a few steps behind, with Thompson and the other Secret Service agents close by. The palace courtyard was very quiet now. Everyone was watching to see what would happen. Next, as they approached the royal guards, Thompson noticed that Guard Commander Williams had not changed his position at all. He was still standing perfectly straight, looking ahead, holding his rifle at exactly the right angle. It was as if the entire confrontation had never happened. Guard Commander Williams, Sir William said formally when they reached the guards. Guard Commander Williams turned his head slightly to acknowledge Sir William. This was the proper protocol. Royal guards could break their formal stance when addressed by senior palace officials. Sir William, Guard Commander Williams replied with a small nod. I would like to introduce Mr. Donald Trump Jr., who is visiting the palace today on business matters, Sir William said in a formal tone. Guard Commander Williams looked directly at Trump Jr. for the first time since their confrontation. His expression was neutral and professional. There was no anger in his eyes, but there was also no apology. Mr. Trump, Guard Commander Williams said with a slight bow of his head. Welcome to Buckingham Palace. Trump Jr. stood there for a moment, not sure what to say. Thompson could see that his boss was still struggling with his pride. Part of Trump Jr. wanted to say something about their earlier disagreement, but another part of him understood that this was a chance to start over. Thank you, Trump Jr. said. Finally, I appreciate your service. Guard Commander Williams nodded again. It is my honor to serve, sir. The exchange was brief and polite. Both men were being diplomatic, even though neither had changed his mind about what had happened. Earlier, Guard Commander Williams still believed he had done the right thing. Trump Jr. still felt that he had been disrespected. But both men were willing to move forward for the sake of avoiding a bigger problem. Thank you, Guard Commander, Sir William said. Please carry on. Guard Commander Williams returned to his formal position. He looked straight ahead again and became perfectly still, like a statue. The other royal guards had not moved at all during the entire introduction. Sir William led Trump Jr. toward the palace entrance. That went very well, Sir William said quietly. Trump Jr. did not reply. He was thinking about what had just happened. Thompson could see that his boss was still processing the events of the morning. Trump Jr. was not used to situations where he could not get his way by being loud and demanding. As they walked toward the palace doors, Thompson noticed that the palace workers were beginning to return to their normal duties. The crisis was over, at least for now. But Thompson knew that this incident would not be forgotten quickly. Inside the palace, Sir William led them through long hallways with high ceilings and expensive paintings on the walls. Everything looked very old and very formal. Trump Jr. looked around with interest, but he was quieter than usual. "The officials are waiting in the blue drawing room," Sir William explained as they walked. "They are very much looking forward to meeting with you." "How much do they know about what happened outside?" Trump Jr. asked. Sir William paused before answering. "They know there was a small delay in your arrival. Nothing more than that." Trump Jr. seemed relieved by this answer. He did not want to start his business meetings by explaining why he had argued with the Queen's guards. They reached a large door with gold decorations. Sir William opened it and gestured for Trump Jr. to enter. Inside was a room with blue walls and elegant furniture. Several people in business suits were sitting around a polished wooden table. "Gentlemen," Sir William announced, "may I present Mr. Donald Trump Jr.?" The officials stood up and smiled politely. They began introducing themselves and shaking hands with Trump Jr. Thompson could see that his boss was returning to his normal, confident manner. The awkwardness of the courtyard confrontation was being pushed aside as Trump Jr. focused on his business agenda. Thompson and the other Secret Service agents took positions around the room while the meeting began. Thompson found himself thinking about what had happened outside. He had never seen anything quite like it in his 15 years of security work. The meeting lasted for 2 hours. Trump Jr. discussed business opportunities and trade relationships with the British officials. He was articulate and professional during the discussions. No one would have guessed that he had been shouting at palace guards just a few hours earlier when the meeting ended. Sir William escorted Trump Jr. back through the palace corridors toward the main entrance. As they walked, Trump Jr. seemed to be in a better mood. "That was a productive meeting," Trump Jr. said to Sir William. "I'm very pleased to hear that," Sir William replied. "We hope for continued cooperation between our countries." As they approached the courtyard, Trump Jr. slowed down slightly. Thompson could see that he was thinking about the Royal Guards again. They would have to walk past Guard Commander Williams and his men on their way back to the cars. "Sir William," Trump Jr. said quietly, "about what happened earlier. Yes, sir? I don't want this to become a problem for anyone. I don't want that guard to get in trouble because of our disagreement." Sir William looked surprised by this comment. "Mr. Trump, Guard Commander Williams will not get in trouble. He performed his duties exactly as he should have." "Good," Trump Jr. said. "I may not have agreed with how he handled things, but I respect that he was doing his job." Thompson felt a sense of relief when he heard this. Maybe Trump Jr. was finally understanding that the Royal Guards had not been trying to insult him. They had just been following their orders and traditions. They walked out into the courtyard again. The Royal Guards were still in their positions, still perfectly still and professional. Guard Commander Williams had not moved from his spot near the palace entrance. As Trump Jr. walked past the guards, he slowed down for a moment. Thompson thought he might say something to Guard Commander Williams, but Trump Jr. just nodded slightly in the Guard Commander's direction. Guard Commander Williams did not acknowledge the nod, but Thompson thought he saw the slightest hint of respect in the Guard Commander's eyes. The cars were waiting in the same positions as before. Trump Jr. got into the middle car, and his security team took their positions in the other vehicles. As the motorcade began to move toward the palace gates, Trump Jr. looked back at the palace through his window. "Thompson," Trump Jr. said as they drove away. "Yes, sir?" "Make sure this doesn't get to the media." "I'll do my best, sir," Thompson replied. "But a lot of people witnessed what happened." Trump Jr. was quiet for a moment. "What do you think the headlines would say if this got out?" Thompson thought about it. "Probably something like, 'American businessman clashes with Royal Guards,' or 'Trump's son told off by palace security.'" Trump Jr. winced. That would not be good for business. No, sir, it would not. They rode in silence for a few minutes as the car moved through London traffic. Trump Jr. was looking out the window, but Thompson could see that he was not really seeing the city. He was thinking about what had happened at the palace. Thompson, Trump Jr. said finally. Yes, sir? In your professional opinion, was I wrong about the security situation? Thompson was surprised by this question. Trump Jr. rarely asked for his honest opinion about anything. Usually, Trump Jr. just gave orders and expected them to be followed. Sir, the royal guards were positioned correctly for palace security, Thompson said carefully. Moving them would not have improved the overall security situation. Trump Jr. nodded slowly. So when that guard commander said they don't work for me, he was stating a fact, sir. They have a different chain of command. I see. Trump Jr. was quiet for another minute. I suppose I could have handled that situation differently. Thompson felt like this was as close to an apology as Trump Jr. was likely to give. It was not a complete admission of being wrong, but it was an acknowledgement that things could have gone better. Sir, these kinds of cultural misunderstandings happen sometimes during international visits, Thompson said diplomatically. Cultural misunderstandings, Trump Jr. repeated. Is that what we're calling it? Yes, sir? That seems like an accurate description. As their car reached the airport, Thompson realized that this incident would probably become a story that people would tell for years to come. The story of the American businessman who tried to dismiss the Queen's guards, and the guard commander who responded with 5 simple words. Sir, we don't work for you. It was a story about respect, tradition, and the importance of understanding that different countries have different ways of doing things. And it was a story that showed that sometimes the most powerful response to unreasonable demands is simply to state the truth clearly and calmly. The motorcade pulled up to Trump Jr.'s private jet. As he got out of the car, Trump Jr. turned to Thompson one last time. Thompson, if anyone asks about today, just tell them it was a successful business meeting. Yes, sir, Thompson replied. But Thompson knew that the real story of this visit would not be about business meetings or trade discussions. The real story would be about 5 words spoken by a British guard who refused to be intimidated. Sir, we don't work for you.